Team Rivalry Reaction. Good evening, football fans. This is Team Rivalry. My name is Cliff Richardson, and we are looking at the 2023 schedule for Big Ten football. Specifically, I'm going over the West Division. Mac is going to go over the East Division. And if you happen to have seen any of the videos I recorded earlier, I just want to apologize. I'm new at this, trying to get this figured out and understand better what I'm doing and not sound like I'm trying to do a radio voice. I apologize for that too. At any rate, let's get into some football. We're talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes tonight. The Iowa Hawkeyes, actually, you know what? We have to honor Kirk Ferentz. Kirk Ferentz is coming up on his, can you believe it? This is his 25th season coaching for the Iowa Hawkeyes. That makes him the longest tenured coach, if not the Big Ten, I think possibly the entire NCAA. Active tenured coaches. I'm sure, former coach of Penn State was actually Joe. Wow, you'd think I would remember that. He's like an icon. Didn't finish his career on the best note, but Joe. Now I'm not even sure that's his right name. I shouldn't have brought that up at all. At any rate, Paterno. That was it, Paterno. Anyway, forget all of that. We're talking Iowa. We're talking Kirk Ferentz. 25 years as the head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes. None of this has anything to do with the upcoming season, but if I don't finish saying what I'm trying to say, I won't get to any of the rest of it either. Let's get to the football. The Iowa Hawkeyes have been for the last several years, in fact, most of Kirk Ferentz's tenure, they've been a solid mid to high level team. Definitely dominant in the West, unless Wisconsin is dominant or unless Wisconsin is on their game. Iowa's is a tough team, and Iowa's always been a tough team in the Big Ten. They are a big bruising kind of a team. They have no major coaching changes this year. They're just going to keep rolling along that sort of average developed team. Kirk Ferentz, I wrote this down. He's coached 302 games and has basically a 63% winning average. That's not bad. That's honestly, that's really good. It's an average team. It's not an outstanding team. It's not a fantastic team. It's an average team that performs pretty much the same year in and year out. Coming up on their non-conference schedule, Big Ten teams often get ridiculed for their non-conference schedules because they usually don't schedule very good teams. In this case, Iowa is not going to be too much different this year. Utah, last year they had a 6-7 season. Each loss was 2 scores or more. All 3 of the non-conference games for Iowa are against Division I FBS teams, so at least we're not scheduling anybody from the FCS. They're going to play Iowa State again. Now, Iowa State had a lousy season last year. They went 4-8. Each loss but 2 was within 1 score, but still they lost 8 out of their... they lost 8 out of their 12 games. They did beat Iowa, though, by a little bit. What was it, by like 4 points? I think it was 10-14. They're also going to play Western this year. Western has not been having a good time since PJ Fleck left. In fact, their coach was fired last year, or he quit, or who knows what. But Lance Taylor is the new coach. So I don't expect a whole lot of competition there from Western, at least for Iowa, not yet. So with those 3 teams, Utah, Iowa State, and Western Michigan, Iowa ought to come out the winner on all of those. At least I would think so. But like I said, they lost to Iowa State last year, and since Iowa hasn't made any major coaching changes, it's a toss-up. Iowa State has only won 2 of the last 8. They barely won last year, so I think Iowa can win this one this year, but that's one of those toss-up games. I hate to just sort of toss that out and say who knows, but if there's no changes and Iowa State won last year, but usually Iowa wins, then Iowa's probably going to win, and that's about the best you can say, the best you can predict, really, if nothing else changes. Iowa does have a losing record against Western Michigan. I forgot I wrote that down. They only played them 3 times, but they've played them 3 times in the last 20 years. And Iowa did win 59-3 in 2013. That was the last time they played. But Western has a new coach this year, and so Western probably won't put up much of a fight. Iowa does have the edge on Penn State. I think they've got the edge on MSU. Purdue has a new coach. Iowa going up against Wisconsin. And I'm just going through these. This is what they've got to look forward to. The non-conference season, non-conference games. I ought to go well. They ought to perform in those just as well as they ever have, and they ought to win those games. And then they hit Penn State, Michigan State. That's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Penn State, obviously, probably tougher than Michigan State, but let's face it, even in a bad year, Michigan State isn't an easy team to beat. So I would guess Penn State and Michigan State, you're looking at really tough games. Purdue has a new coach. Wisconsin has a new coach, but it's Luke Fickell. And Luke Fickell is no slouch. Minnesota keeps rolling along. Minnesota, PJ Fleck is basically becoming the new Kirk Ferentz. He's got just kind of an average team. It looks like they're going to do well, and then they kind of do average, and that's basically what happens to them. What I found interesting is that Iowa has this very, very close record against most Big Ten teams. They're within a couple of games, either way, winning or losing. So when we look at these records, this just all goes to Iowa being an average team. They just sort of do the same thing year after year after year under Kirk Ferentz. So my guess is this year you're really not looking at a whole lot different. You're looking at the basic same Iowa team. They're going to remain 9-10. They're going to remain an average team until Kirk Ferentz retires. And I'm not trying to knock Kirk Ferentz. I think he's a good coach. He's obviously, he's not all over the board. It's not like Iowa has a fantastic season one year and then a lousy season the next year. They pretty much just keep rolling along. So Kirk Ferentz is developing solid players that, can go on to the NFL and be solid players in the NFL. He's a consistent performer. If that's what you want, then Iowa's going to provide that. The key games this year, I think, are going to be against Penn State and Wisconsin. Penn State, because it's going to be their first Big Ten game. And Iowa, as we know, if they don't shine in those first games, then they're not going to shine later in the season. Wisconsin is going to be a big deal because Luke Fickell coming in as that new coach, he's no slouch. He's done a fine job at Cincinnati. He's going to give Iowa a run for their money. After Wisconsin, you've got Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers, Illinois, and Nebraska. Out of those 5 games, Illinois is really the only challenge. So my guess is you've got, this year with Iowa, you've got a 9-3 season with losses potentially against, I'm going to say, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Illinois. I think those are probably your most likely losses. But again, this is all a prediction and based on Iowa being just an average, consistent team. They might actually shine. They might knock Penn State down because Penn State isn't ready for them. It's just Iowa's just one of those not real predictable teams because they're just so average, and yet they've got some really good talent on that team. At any rate, if you disagree, if you agree, if you have something to say about Iowa's schedule, I want to hear it because, like I said, if I think Iowa's an average team, I want to know what you Iowa fans think. What do you expect from your team this year? And I forgot to do this in all of the other videos, and I'm going to do it now. I broke a tradition, a team rivalry tradition. And that's what team rivalry is all about. We're all about tradition, right? We're about, the smacking the banner on the wall, the colors, the helmets. Anyway, I forgot to do it. I'm going to do it now. This is Team Rivalry. Team Rivalry Reaction.